No conditions. You will agree to this plan to destroy your chemical weapons. You had put conditions on this in the past week or so, but no conditions.
The only condition that the agreement will entail and propose and provide.
Okay.
So now we are going to discuss the details with the international organization. So I don't have all the details to discuss it with you now.
Now, that was just part of Fox News' exclusive interview with Syrian President Assad. And still with us, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, Utah Senator Mike Lee. By the way, you're voting for Jay Leno for the... Can you believe how dumb NBC is?
Look, Leno is trusted and he's fair.
It's funny.
And he's very funny.
Wow.
And he's the only late-night comic who is actually willing to make fun of Obama.
Oh, he makes fun of everybody.
He makes fun of everybody, but the others don't. And in fact, there was a joke. I remember Letterman told a joke. He said, you know, people ask me why I don't make fun of Obama. Well, now with the IRS scandal, you've discovered why.
Yeah.
And it was sort of the exception proving the rule where everyone laughed, but where's the next joke?
All right. Syria, obviously very serious. My biggest concern in all of this is how Vladimir Putin now has influence in the area. He threatened to shoot down our cruise missiles in Syria, threatening to provide a shield to both Syria and Iran. What is the net result of this, do you think, Senator?
It's really difficult to say, but I know that the net result is not good. Look, bad things happen when we start to inject ourselves into potential wars where we have no business fighting, where we have no clear ally, where we can't identify the end result that we want, an end result that's necessary to protect American national security, an end result that would make Americans any safer at home.
Yeah. Senator?
Look, Assad, by any measure, is a bad guy. He can do an interview and deny that he's responsible for these attacks, but no one disputes that he's murdered 100,000 of his citizens. He's caused over 1 million refugees to flee his country. He's a bad guy, but just because he's a bad guy and he should be roundly condemned, it doesn't mean the rebels are any better.
Well, look, we made a big mistake giving tanks, F-16s, and a lot of money to Mohammed Morsi. We really blew it in Egypt. And I think the most likely successor are these al-Qaeda-linked al-Nusra rebels that are, I think they're more likely successor. What do you think?
In June, of the 9 major rebel groups, at least 7 of them appear to have significant ties to al-Qaeda. And you're exactly right, Sean.
No.
If we had gone through with a military strike and it had weakened Assad so much that the al-Qaeda, the al-Nusra, radical Islamic terrorists had taken over, seized those chemical weapons, that would have hurt U.S. national
You're saying that this unbelievably small, days not weeks, no boots on the ground, no regime change would have made things worse?
It was either going to make no difference, or it was, and either one was bad. But let me say something that may surprise you. I want to praise the president on this. I want to praise President Obama, number 1, for listening to bipartisan calls and submitting to the constitutional authority of Congress, and number 2, for listening to the overwhelming voice of the people who were opposed. And let's tie this back to the Obamacare discussion. At the beginning of Syria, you had the president, you had leadership in both houses all saying we're going to do an attack, and conventional wisdom in Washington was this is going to happen. And then the American people spoke up in overwhelming numbers, and Republicans and Democrats both listened to the people. That's exactly how, with Obamacare, we change the status quo, is we get the elected officials to listen to the people.
So both of you are saying that if the American people speak out and they tell their representatives and their senators to defund Obamacare, fund the rest of the government, defund Obamacare, that it will happen.
That is
100%?
The only way it will happen.
That is the way it happens, and it can happen. It's about momentum. This is the way things happen a lot in Washington. The Washington political establishment will say something is impossible. Then the American people will speak, and they'll say, well, maybe it's just improbable. Eventually it becomes unstoppable as the people get behind it, and elected representatives in Washington realize that it's important to stand with them.
If this isn't the fight for Republicans, then I don't know what is. This, for me, is a defining issue. If they don't do this and stand up and have a spine, they lose me. And I'm a registered conservative already, so otherwise, what do they stand for?
The number 1 issue in America, if you ask the American people, is jobs and the economy. Doesn't matter if they're Republicans, Democrats, or independents. And I'll tell you, my biggest frustration in 9 months in the Senate, we spent 0 time even talking about jobs and the economy. We spent 6 weeks talking about guns and taking away people's Second Amendment rights. And with Harry Reid's Senate, we spend no time on tax reform, no time on regulatory reform. The single best step we can take to restore economic growth, to restore jobs, to expand opportunity for those who are struggling is to defund Obamacare and bring back jobs.
All right, we're going to watch closely, see which guys have a spine and can weather the storm and who can't. Guys, good to see you both. Thank you for coming up.